everybody? Welcome to another edition of Bob's Garage. Today we're going to tap and fix the transmission line where it enters into the transmission, and we are going to install the whole front bumper, the front radiator, all that good stuff, and get this buttoned up. So stay tuned and let's get this done. Okay, another quick recap. Here is how the car stands right now. So this is the AC condenser swung around to the side. We got everything connected up here on the car. So we got all the charge pipes in place. We have all the electrical connectors done. We have the heater core hoses hooked up. The ECU is all buttoned up. Even the coolant overflow tank is in place. Airbox, accordion hose, all that good stuff. So there was that big rubber O-ring, and I couldn't quite figure out where it went. I was told that it should go over on this side, not that side. So I stuffed it in there, bolted this or latched that down, and we'll call that good. So here's where we stand, and I had already bolted on the front or the upper transmission line, and the only thing left is this lower line, so I got it kind of pushed up there so it doesn't leak and drip. And if you remember, I was really upset, but I had stripped that tiny little bolt, which is only probably the smallest bolt in the car. And so that's what we're going to do today. So I got tap and die set. I believe it's a M6 with a 1.0 thread pitch. And I just used some feeler gauges for that came with the kit. This kit is just from Harbor Freight. It was about 30 bucks with coupon. And yeah, so let's do this. Okay, here's a little bit more of a close-up shot of what I'm going to be doing. I know you can't really quite see where the bolt hole is. It's straight down here. It's just it's a single bolt that holds the transmission line into the radiator. So here's what we're gonna use. We're gonna try this one here. So this is a M6 with a 1.0 pitch thread pitch, excuse me. Now I'm hoping I can get lucky with this. So my grand plan is actually just to, I don't like this. I don't like how these transmission lines come into the radiator. So every time I work on the car, I wouldn't mind. I'd like to be able to just drain the coolant and then pull off the whole front clip here, or the front radiator assembly. Well, on these Tiptronic cars, you can't really do that because of these lines that go into the radiator for the transmission. I guess the manual cars do not have those lines. So what I'm planning on doing is installing I want to install what am I trying to say here? I want to install an aftermarket transmission cooler. So what I'll do for that is basically tap into these transmission lines over probably on the driver's side. So right after where they come, where the transmission lines come out of the actual transmission cooler, which is, or I should say the stock OEM transmission cooler, which is underneath well, not underneath, but on the back side of the driver's side intercooler. And that so JHM sells it's only like $100, but they sell a transmission cooler that it's for a B6 and B7 S4, but I don't see any difference why it would be, or why it would not work on a B5. So I contacted JHM. They basically just said that they had never tried it on a B5. So that might be the first one, but it's nice. It's a all black transmission cooler, and they just use basically like a barb, like little metal barbs. So you like cut the transmission lines where you want to patch into them, and then you use hose clamps and push these barbs into the hoses, into the soft hoses, and then the hose clamps hold the hose onto the barb, and that's about it. I mean, it's not rocket science we're doing here. And then I will never have to deal with this radiator crap again. This is just too much. And I think a standalone trans cooler is probably a really good idea anyway, because these this fluid, this trans fluid, when it runs through the radiator, you know, ideally it was supposed to cool down the fluid, which I'm sure it does. But you're also running hot coolant through the radiator, and that hot coolant is just gonna essentially heat up the trans fluid even more. So if you can remove the trans fluid from the hot radiator, it should help a lot with the transmission temps. So once I get this car back and running, I'll start logging temps just to get an idea what average is, what peak is, hot days in the summer and all that. And that way when I eventually do get around to installing a transmission cooler, I can compare and see just how much better it is doing or whatever. So I'm hoping I can get lucky with this tap here. What all that I'm doing is just running a tap down to clean up the threads rather than tapping for a bigger bolt. So I'm going to do this first and to see if cleaning up the threads is good enough. And at that point, call it a day. So okay, so that's run down there pretty deep. Okay, for reference, this is the bolt that I'm talking about. So I want to say it's a 10 millimeter, and it's not even an inch long. It's got a little washer on it, and it just threads right in there. The top one had no problems, but this bottom one, it screwed in partially, and then it just kept spinning. It wouldn't actually like lock down. And the bolt itself, I believe, is okay. I think this bolt is steel, and the threads that you're screwing into are copper, which is the whole problem. So the steel bolt basically blew out those copper threads. So I'm guessing this will be a problem for some other people as they start working on their older S4s like this. So okay, alright, I'm going to remove this tap, and then I'm going to try to run in the bolt and see how it works now. Alright, so I'm going to chase it down a little bit longer, or a little bit further or deeper down. So in my kit that came from Harbor Freight, I had found this extension thing, and it looks like I'm able to just do it that way rather than using this piece. So this piece was hitting this shock absorber and hitting the zip tie, even with this arm removed. So I'm just going to use this instead and just go by hand. So they usually say go forward a little bit, go back. It helps clear the threads. Go forward, go back. You can hear it cutting new threads. So let's pull this out. I'm going to compare it to the bolt and see just how deep I am. Okay. Alright. Actually looks like I could probably go a little bit deeper with this tap. So I went to about here, So it looks like I still have a few more threads to go down deeper, so I will do that now. So here's what I came up with. You can see how this bolt is black. That bolt is nice and shiny. So I just went to the hardware store and picked up a longer bolt. So it's an M6 bolt, 1.0 thread pitch, and I bought a longer bolt. So it was, I don't even remember the specs. It was the next longest bolt. So I think the stock bolt is M6 by 12. So I believe I bought an M6 by 16 or something. And I'd put, it's hard to see, but I put 2 little washers on there. So it made it probably about a 1/4 inch longer, the new bolt, compared to the stock old bolt. And now, I might have mentioned it before, but I did have to tap it. So I tapped it, went as deep as I could with new threads, just the same size, and then screwed in the longer bolt. So I'm happy about that. I did pick up a helicoil kit, and it's like $45 or something. So I did not want to go that route. That's helicoils are where you have to drill out the hole, put a special insert in there, and it's very expensive. And I don't know, I've never done it before, so I'm excited. So now I can bolt on this this little bracket here, and then connect up the coolant lines, and then the car will pretty much be in service position. So I should be able to connect up all these wire harnesses, and from there we should be ready to rock. So let's get this done. Booyah.